Knowing what Wednesday means, the way that the fourth quarter pretty much went the way you would want it on both ends, how important is that before you get on the plane tomorrow?
Yeah, we really had to work the game, and then, it happened. We just working the game, and go into the fourth tied and had our best defensive quarter. That led us, into some great energy going down the other end, and it was an offensive explosion, as well, a mini explosion. But that was great to see us respond that way in the fourth.
The 19 and 17 for Khalil obviously stands out, but what pleases you in general about his growth, his steadiness over recent weeks and games?
Well, you can trust him, to compete and to try to do the right things. He's a glass eater, that for sure. He finds his way, around the basket too for, these really important relief points, for us. He's gaining confidence. Today, I thought he did a real good job of facilitating also for us. Not only screen setting, but, when he had his catches in a similar place where Bam was, he was able to deliver the action reliably. And that helps, our versatility offensively. I told him it would have been, he brought us in, and the first thing he said to me is that I think I could have had 20-plus rebounds in this game. I said, well, that would have been great. I think 19 points, 19 rebounds, and 9 block shots. I think he had an opportunity, and I told him that. He could have had a few more blocks right at the rim. They were getting there past our first line of defense, and he has good instincts there. That would have been, if I were to nitpick, how many did he end up with? How many blocks, Tim? Oh, yeah, 8 more blocks in this game. I think he would have had that opportunity.
We've been asking about Tyler kind of handling, absorbing pressure over the past 2 months or so, but is it different to have him so willing to get everybody else involved and take that pressure at night with no Bam, no Wiggs, when you might need to be?
Yeah, his maturity, offensively, and his role for our team has grown, the last couple of months. And that's due to all of these pressure situations that we've been in where everything just feels heightened, and where we had injuries and he had to play a different way for us to be successful. We were just going to high usage him, with spread pick and rolls. He would have been totally worn out. So it was a function of necessity, getting him off the ball, and then he became really good at it. Most importantly, it helped our offense, and it helped the diversity of our offense, and then he was able to get some easier buckets out of that. I mean, one of the easiest buckets he had tonight was a Kyle pick and roll, and he skipped it to him in the corner. And now he makes this look easy for somebody else trying to shoot that, 2-dribble pull-up. It would be a lot tougher, but that was just, fully in his rhythm, and that's off ball, being ready on the catch, those kind of actions that, he's just more patient. He's allowing the game, happen, and his skill set can just, take advantage of those situations.
When Duncan was out with the back, I imagine because it was a back, he couldn't do a whole lot of on-court stuff. But the fact that he still can be ignitable, as you would say, and
yeah,
21 on 8 shots,
he'll always have that quality. That's what makes him a little bit different too than just a spacer or a guy. He can create a lot of overreactions because of his movement, but it's always been about his ignitability. He sees 2 or 3 go down, then it can be an avalanche from there. Even when he was out and while we were on that last road trip, though, he was able to do a good deal of work. So that helped.
How crucial is it in this sort of time of the season to get guys that in sort of this collective effort where 6 are scoring in double digits and others are just filling up the stat sheet?
Are you talking about for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing that way for a while, quite a while. Especially guys in and out of the lineup. Every time we've had guys out of the lineup, it hasn't felt like somebody's had thought that they needed to play out of the box, just hoist up a bunch more shots or something like that. It's been a collective effort, and I think that's making us way more difficult to guard. There's a lot of different layers to what we do now.
Eric, when you look ahead to Wednesday, it's all relative, but just the actual thought of having a meaningful game with 3 games left to go in the season, just your thoughts of having that.
I think it's a lot of fun. And nobody in our locker room is cynical enough, to think otherwise. You look at what's going on in the Western Conference, 4 through 8. This is what the league is right now. So you're not above it. Just embrace it and enjoy it. This is going to be a great night. It's all about competition, and it's going to feel like a playoff game, and that's fun.
Coach, I know you touched on this before, but with Kyle Anderson playing the 7th most minutes and still finishing with the 2nd best box plus minus and being able to impact the stat sheet, how is it to have that type of guy in the closing stretch of these games before the play-in?
Yeah, I could make some comparisons, but he's just a really smart basketball player. And he can manipulate a game, because of his brain and, how he plays at that certain pace. But I think one of the things that I've learned about him that's equally as important is he is a great competitor. That winning is what matters to him, not stats or not anything else that a lot of young players are concerned about when they come into this league. It's just about winning. He's a throwback in that regard. So he's tough. He competes. He thinks about winning. And it kind of simplifies his decisions. He's not clouded in the mind, but he's just a very good basketball player.
Kyle Lowry was making his way down to you with about 5 seconds left, and you guys had the moment.
Yeah.
How nice is it that you can have those with guys in the league?
Yeah, I always, I understand how it ended with Kyle, but, there's some really good moments, and Kyle and I developed a strong relationship, and that was going back all the way to that Africa trip. So we have a bond that's going to transcend, this. And he lives down here. So, actually we caught up for a while after the game in Philly. We're going to be traveling in the same circles, because of his kids and everything. And I always root for him and his family. He's just a good dude.